Okay, starting over, I call this meeting to order, 6:30. Thank you for coming today to the April Sustainability Integration Board meeting. We do have quorum, so we're hoping to have a productive meeting. First order of business is to approval of the minutes. And if there's no questions on that, just one small correction that I would suggest. And that's on the last page, literally the second to the last sentence where it says, Jean presented that EPA at WSU produced a 180-page report for this purpose, and she wanted to point out that this resource could be used as a guide. I believe that's Jane Burns. So other than that, I think it's okay. So would someone make a motion to approve with that minor amendment?
Approved with the minor correction.
All right, I'll second.
Okay, great. Okay, minutes approved. Are there any announcements?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Deborah.
Aye.
Thank you. No, great. Does everybody approve it's online?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
They give us a hand or something? Yeah, great.
I wonder if we can hear them.
There's just some new.
Okay. All right.
No, we cannot.
Can you hear me?
Okay, we can communicate. So, yeah,
Have to chat, I guess.
all right. So let's go ahead and do the announcements. Do we have any announcements at this time? I think we have a number of them, actually. So I missed it.
There was a
Missed it.
Is that in the chat?
Yeah.
Somebody chatted.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Can't hear you.
Okay, so Laura can't hear us. Okay. Thank you for letting us know.
That was 5 minutes ago. I think they said they can hear you now.
Yeah, can you scroll down and see the latest messages? There's a bunch of them in there.
No, yes, yes, yes. Oh, who's saying that?
Right.
Trying to do it slow so I can see.
Some Jim had a stroke.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Jim said that.
Okay, thanks for joining, Jen. Right. Okay, we wish you speedy recovery on that, of course. Okay, yeah. I think we have different announcements. Randy, would you like to make an announcement?
Sure. I passed this out with the Zero Waste Picnic. My name's Randy Timish, and I'm here partly because I am the communications team with the League of Women Voters, as well as a grassroots organization we call 316 United. And a number of us has been meeting every Friday to talk about how we can support and continue a conversation about our environment. Just feels like everybody's burned out. So this is our answer to try to get people involved, come and talk. We're just handing it out. We're not asking for RSVP. I have a mailing list about 100, and I'm hoping we get 20 people there. But I definitely want you guys there. And one of the things we asked is what can we do for you guys? Do we need to be writing to the city commissioners and telling them what we support you guys doing?
Mm-hmm.
So if you would think about that, I'd like to have that conversation because we're all kind of in the same boat.
Absolutely. Thank you, Randy. Are there any other announcements? Go ahead, Jane, please.
I have a page for everybody. We've been hearing about the NASA heat study for some time. This report is online. We've asked about it a great number of times. over the last
for me.
couple of months in the Bike Ped Advisory Board where I used to serve as well. At any rate, it indicates that there's a massive environmental justice issue with urban heat, and trees could help that. We have whole chunks of the city that have very few trees and very high heat. And this is just the first two pages, the cover page, and then the abstract that says extreme heat now due to lack of trees and a great deal of concrete. So you can find that online as well. Just wanted to briefly point that out. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Jane. And this is an issue that we need to be looking at, and we'll be following up further as we go on. Moving on to public comments. Well, that's what we've done just now. Are there any other public comments? Please.
Yeah, hi, my name is Charles Shutt. I've got my own nonprofit called SNEC, and I'm also working for Sunflower Community Action as an environmental justice program manager. Just wanted to say hello, that we're going to be running a transit equity program. We're looking for interested people to come take a climate defender training in the last weekend of June. We're going to be hosting that for the public as well. Similarly, my organization's sort of a DIY community river cleanup thing right there by Mead Island. In that little arc there where Susie Cunningham lives. I'm sure that name will ring a bell in here. Yeah, we've got a bunch of young folks there that just actively clean up the river, try and remediate the bank, keep it from eroding any more than it does. And we have a boat and block party this Saturday. I know it's spring, so somebody else just passed a competing event around the tree farm with ICT tree. But yeah, we'd love for anybody who wants to come on down. If you want to bring some meat, go for it. Or definitely bring a lawn chair. We'll have some music. We got a cool catering company coming, but bring a boat too, because we'll have a bunch of boats in the water and you can just sort of hang out tied off right there, right by the island in what we call the Green Tunnel. Best place in Wichita. So see
Okay.
you.
Thank you for joining today. Another example of why it's important for all of us to be coordinating our efforts so that we don't step on each other's toes while we're doing things. Any other, here you go, Elizabeth.
I'm Elizabeth Bishop with ICT Trees Incorporated, and I think we promoted it a fair amount, so everybody's aware of it, but I did want to mention it at the announcements.
Thank you very much. Great. And I would like to make a few comments here. Last week, I spoke to the city council about our sustainability board and our efforts to date that we haven't actually been able to accomplish very much, frankly. And I went to the meeting. I did not introduce myself as a member of the sustainability board. I spoke as an individual, but of course, I am very involved in this and would like to see this be a successful thing for all of us. And through the work that we've done and the frustration that we find meeting once a month for 90 minutes with hybrid meetings, we're not really able to accomplish very much in making decisions about how to use our budget and how to go forward and make the most of that. I truly believe that one of the most important things that we could do with that money is to hire a sustainability officer position. And so I addressed that issue to the city council, and I followed up on that since then so that it's should be the #1 item in discussion items today. So that's where we're at on that. And I would like to open it up to discussion about what you all think about using all or most of our budget to hire a sustainability officer full-time. And I have some, for those of you that are here today, I have some information. The EFC, the Environmental Finance Center, they produced a sustainability initiatives report that included the recommendation for creating a full-time position within the city manager's office in the administrative division so that we could coordinate sustainability and climate related, all kinds of things, data collection, assessment, reporting, so on and so forth. And that position could do so much more than what we can even possibly hope to accomplish 90 minutes once a month. And so what do you all have to say about, and what's your feelings on this? Voting for this as something we should go forward with? Because we are also running out of time in the budget cycle. So that's important that we get going with this.
So you've already talked to the city council about this and suggested it to them. What did they say?
In the course of the public input and the comments afterwards, I assured them that we would most likely be discussing that, and that we, hopefully we would make some vote, that we would come with a formal recommendation, because it does involve an application process where we, as you've already seen with the things that you've started on with the blades. And so it's up to us to make a formal vote and decision to go forward with this. So hopefully everyone would believe this is a worthwhile thing to do. What's your feelings?
Jen asked, what is the cost for the board?
What is the cost? According to the research that has been done, preliminary research by the EFC, I asked them to check on that, and they said that it would consume basically all of our $100,000 for a market value position for a full-time sustainability officer position.
Did that
I'm assuming
include?
that includes salary and benefits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a big chunk of it.
Yeah, benefits is a lot of times more than salary.
Penny?
And furthermore, we're going to have to go back to the people that gave us the budget, because apparently there is no budget allocation for the following year.
Lauren has a question.
All right.
She said, how is the process of filling Nina's position?
So Nina's replacement is scheduled to start May 1st.
Right, but I mean,
On
we
Monday.
saw the last time Nina had so many things that she was doing, that she was not like dedicated to this. Is that not correct?
So Nina's position is an environmental quality specialist, and its primary function is to administer the air quality grant that we get from KDHE, right? And that's the reason that position exists. We tacked facilitation of this board onto that. So, right, when you have things of Nina or this position to do, it really is secondary to the primary objective of that position, which is air quality.
So could that position then change to include more than just air quality? Or would that be another, are we talking about a separate position with what Michael's suggesting?
Yeah, I don't think you can change that position any more than we already have because of the grant requirement, right? KDHE pays 60% of it and the city matches 40%. So because KDHE has money attributed to it, they have expectations, right? So we can't really overload it with other things.
Is there any possible funding besides just this for something like that, like from KDHE, like even with the IRA? Anything out there that we might take advantage of?
I'll let Charles probably, I know you know, and I'm glad you introduced yourself, we talked.
We're our friends.
So, like Michael said, this $100,000 was a one-time allocation. It wasn't in my operating budget. It wasn't in Public Works operating budget. It was put in a box specifically for this group with no further allocations budgeted at the time.
Which doesn't make sense.
So, right, I think grant opportunities are out there. I don't know how many of them are multi-year. I know a lot of them are for planning and that sort of thing. But we've had this air quality grant since 1972. It just depends on the funding mechanism and the bucket of money that it comes from. So,
Wow.
What if we looked into
more.
spending?
So I've
But if-
had the luxury of working with Center for Popular Democracy, who has a team of Columbia grad students that, since the legislation was in chambers, basically, they've been perusing through it and watching it grow into a massive tome that takes up a 4-inch binder on my desk at work. And there are lots of opportunities. One thing that you might look at, though, is most of the opportunities for government to government funding through the Inflation Recovery Act require a CBO, community-based organization, to complement the requirements surrounding the Justice 40 initiative, which is the Biden administration rule that they are going to give priority to disadvantaged communities, specifically communities of color and low-income communities, when they are distributing this money. And they want a CBO on the ground that works with those populations. Like my job and my side project, just putting it out there, but they actually want, they require for a lot of these grants, nearly all of them, that a CBO be present and assisting the city in how they're putting that together. There is a process, I believe, that's specific to 67 biggest cities, that they each have $1 million earmarked, and I believe the state of Kansas has some money for, places other than Kansas City. But there's also, I'm not sure if you guys have already raised your hand, but I think it's not due till the 28th, but the city of Wichita can actually just put its hand up for a planning grant of $1 million. And if another of those 67 cities that are bigger than us does not accept it, that money's on the table for any city that has raised its hand. So it would be exceptionally good, because $1 million will apparently fund 10 of these people. But if there's, funding requirements, how many years you can do it or anything, it would at least pay for a program that would absolutely encompass this position better than KDHE air quality. But that exists, and it's there for the taking right now.
Laura said, what if we looked into utilizing the money this year to get the position started, but then look for grants to help pay for future years? And then probably great idea to what you just said.
I hope so.
I just will say that I think we have proved over the course of the last year that we're all busy with a lot of other stuff and we're not making a lot of progress. And I think if we can, because there is, after many years of a drought, some federal money out there that's significant for environmental projects, to have someone who on the middle of the page includes grant applications as part of their job description, who would be doing it full-time. I'm thinking maybe that's the best
Way to get it going.
leverage we
Yeah.
can insert in this whole problem.
I'd agree, for sure.
Right,
I
go ahead.
agree.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions. What's a CBO?
I'm sorry, a community-based organization.
You probably said that, kind of went by fast, thank you. The question I've got, because it sounds like kind of opportunity that you're talking about is also what Mike's talking about, or at least what is related to it. And the 28th is Friday, are you talking about April?
Yes.
And if the city does not put its hand up and ask for a planning grant, how locked out would we be, and for how long?
Penny, I think that's a better one for you to answer in terms of the $1 million that's earmarked for the 67 largest cities in the United States that would be left over should any of those cities not apply. We'd just be immediately locked out. That's just going to go to somebody else that applied, or they're going to roll it back into some other program that they already earmarked those whatever leftover funds were there for. Because there's a lot of that, because with $800 billion to spread across the country, there's going to be some unspent money, so they have contingency upon contingency.
And I'm aware that some of that is for trees.
So what do we have to do to get the city of Wichita to put their hand up between now and the day after tomorrow?
It's basically impossible. I mean, honestly,
Well, actually,
so I have to get city council approval before I can put the city of Wichita on any map to request funding. So, I was here last month to talk to you guys about the energy efficiency conservation block grant. I had to ask council approval to submit that pre-award information sheet, which I did, which is done now, right? We did review the Climate Pollution Reduction Act, that's
Yes,
CPRG. In February or March, we decided that, there is an allocation to the state. KDHE has already advised us that they would like our input as to how those funds are used. And so I've talked to Kathleen Waters about it. She asked me again this week, when's your position going to be filled so we can start planning for it? So our effort at this point had been to work with the state on that, because like he said, if those cities don't take it, then it's on the table. But we didn't really have a level of effort to dedicate for a maybe at the time, right? We are pursuing other grants still. We chose to work with KDHE on this one.
And I'm not sure if they are mutually exclusive. That wasn't a question I had answered yet. So it might be, you can't use KDHE funds if you even raise your hand for the 6 to 7 big cities, so that would be fairly unorthodox.
Yeah, it wasn't clear to us what the rules were, if that funding wasn't available, if we were eligible for it.
Right. Yeah, the bummer is it was like a one question.
That kind of makes me even more inclined to go try to fund a professional full-time grant writer who would keep track of these sorts of things and with enough lead time, knowing that city council's process of approval takes months
Yeah.
to be on top of things and get.
I mean, that's the way all of this feels, that if we had somebody who was truly dedicated to be working on these issues, that we would get a lot more accomplished, rather than, sort of
Always feels
more
like we're-
questions each 90 minutes once a month and we have answers.
Yeah.
Lauren said, what is the program for 67 cities with possible $1 million?
Climate pollution reduction grant.
The planning grant, which is where they like you to start, plan first.
I think we've got I mean, granted, I'm a planner, so I am prejudiced about that, but I think this city needs about $1 million worth of planning to figure out what to focus on and how and where to spend future money. And you could easily do $1 million worth of planning
Right.
and not be
Oh, yeah.
wasting your time here in Wichita.
So I would like to make the motion that we use the budget that we have to fund a position to at least get the process started. And then we look for other monies or argue for further budget funding to go forward.
Okay, my first question is, can we do that? Or are we simply allowed to suggest to city council or city manager that? Because I mean, we're not gonna hire the person.
No.
It's gonna be.
But I
the
mean, we're
city.
suggesting that that's
Yeah.
what it'd be used for.
Right,
Okay,
so Michael makes a motion, if you all agree, then, I don't know that we necessarily. Maybe we would go through the business case evaluation process that Lori went through for the blades, but really it's a budget option, right? That I need to take to city manager, to take to city council to say, we want to use this allocation for this position. And we, if you all agree, we would take that process.
Except that those funds have to be spent this year.
Yeah, they're programmed for 2023, but if you say, you know what, we want this position to begin whatever date and then, last for 12 months or whatever, we might
so
be
they'd
able
be
to.
allocated this year.
Right,
Would be
it
good
has to
enough.
be in advance of the revised budget in August, right?
Right, so it'll be a while before we could even start looking for someone, and then they would maybe take the job, maybe not sure if they're gonna be here for more than a year.
Well, hopefully we would find somebody who has the same passion that we have and they would be delighted to be involved in this. And,
How long does it take, I mean, I'm thinking of how long it's taken to get Nina's position filled. Everything has to go through several layers. Staff recommendations, city manager, city council approval, get into the
So,
budget,
right.
so.
So I think what this would look like is, let's say you all agree, I take it to the manager, he takes it to the council. It's incorporated into the budget process where it is or isn't approved, and then you'll know in August. Let's say that it is approved and then we're given the green light to hire. That would take probably about 6 weeks. So let's say best case scenario, someone applies, we interview, we accept, they start October 1 or October 15 or something. And then we would have to have approval for our funds to last the duration of that person's 12 months, in which time I think you're suggesting that they have to write themselves a grant that's successful to continue their employment beyond that year.
Yeah, and the alternative is we have to somehow figure out how to spend our 100,000 between now and August.
End of December. So
End
end
of
of the year.
December.
So you'll have
Sorry.
all year to spend the $100,000.
Okay.
Laura.
Oh,
said-
well, we could do.
Laura said, wouldn't we use a portion of the funds then, and then ask for the 2024 budget to be the same? Then we would have 18 months.
We don't actually have any budget for next year, so.
So how do we get in on the budget process to be part of the budget? Because you said it was just a block that was just put in there. So how do we argue to actually be regularly funded?
It would be a program option, the same budget option that we put forward to hire it for 12 months. You could put it forward, say it'd be a permanent position that would require an ongoing $100,000 a year, if that's the way you decided to do it. You've presented two options, right? Option A, the first one that you talked about was $100,000 for 1 year, then write yourself a grant perpetuity. Option B is you ask city council for $100,000 ongoing each year.
Seemed like we would ask for B first, and if we didn't get that, we'd go for the other one.
One of the things that they did in Little Rock, because I spoke to their sustainability director.
Right.
When she started doing this as an intern, and then she got a full-time position when they created it. And she ended up saving enough money for the city to fund her position with
How
her
long ago was
sustainability
that?
efforts. I talked to her maybe 5 years ago.
Wichita is behind in this. You know, cities much smaller than Wichita have already undergone this process. They have sustainability departments. Honolulu's had a department for 10, 15 years. Norman, Oklahoma is a third the size of Wichita and has a sustainability director. It's time. Time to take this seriously, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. we did.
Well spoken.
Argue with us when we're all on the same team.
Well, okay, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're the one who really understands the city process. And I think in the back of my mind, I'm wondering if the political response to this by council is going to be, we gave these people $100,000 and they can't figure out what to do with it. So they're just going to, hire somebody to figure out what to do with it. Is that going to be how council looks at this, do you think?
I would hate to guess, but Renee, that says we're gonna end in 10 minutes.
Oh, geez.
I would hate to guess, but your point is that it's a policy decision, right? You're gonna take it to the manager and the
We're not
city
gonna be able to make
council, and it's a
decisions, right?
policy decision as to whether they decide to fund it. I can't say for sure. I do want to let you know that as a department, we've been asked to identify 5% savings, right? We're not really giving an opportunity to add anything currently. If you watch the budget workshop this week, there's a deficit in 2025. So we're very much in a different mindset as far as budgeting right now, as far as looking for savings. But that is, again, it's a policy decision. If the council decides to support it, it could be voted in.
And that almost makes me, again, think that if we can get someone in a position that they can get the grants to sustain their own salary, we would have a better chance of having a sustainability officer for the city of Wichita than if we simply ask the city to hire somebody in that position and carve out funding for it when they're already trying to cut budgets.
Well, I think we have to continue to communicate how important this is and how it should be a priority. But that's an ongoing challenge.
And we could get folks to get to the city council. A year and a half, 2 years ago, we got 27 presentations to ask for the sustainability board, and we could do it again. There's more support now for these environmental issues than there were 2 years ago. It's time, folks. And what I'm hearing is, even if you vote for the $100,000 for this person, it's October before they could start. If they could go through all the impediments, all the barricades, if the earliest they could start is October.
I mean, I can ask if you guys decide what you want, and I want to say we can put both in. We can put option A and B in, right? We don't have to just say one or the other. We can put a menu of options for discussion in, right? And I just know that the revised budget gets authorized in August. And so if they were to take a separate action before then, maybe it could go in earlier, but that's not typically how it works. If you wanted to add an FTE to city manager's office, it'd have to be approved in the revised budget typically.
But through this pot that's totally separate, $100,000. That's not anyplace else. That sounds sort of independent. Doesn't it?
So someone put, if you use the contractor, that would be faster. You could get a consultant or a contractor commissioned before you could get an FTE added to the ordinance Charles has something.
Yeah, it said, or should we use the money to hire contract consultants for grant writing with the projected budget deficit in 25-26? We will be successful in requesting a full-time position.
I was gonna give an option, I guess. Not sure what order we're on, but given that there's the CDO requirement for a lot of government to government. So if you want money from the federal government, you want money from the state through IRA, there's all these requirements about using a community-based organization. There's also the option of granting some of this money to community-based organizations with these specific goals. And that way they can use an existing employee that they already have hired, put 20 to 50% of that employee's time in, and you have multiple organizations, the CBOs that you already have to draw from for collaborative problem solving grants. And
But
that's-
we already have $100,000. We already have that. We don't, it doesn't need to fly under federal regulations.
No, not at all. It's, I don't even be confused by what I'm saying. The bigger pot, the $800 billion pot, from the Inflation Recovery Act, that pot of money requires these relationships. Using this as a grants and aid process now would begin building those partnerships that the federal government is looking for in collaborative problem solving models, which are typically specified in this kind of stuff. And moreover, it would allow you to cut through the red tape that he's talking about and get that money working for you before October. Because I understand what you're saying. This is a political capital issue. You had to fight to get the political capital to support, and now we're gonna have to fight for political capital to even use $100,000 to get it done, unless we use a different option.
We no longer have a quorum. Do we?
Did they fall
The time was up.
No.
Oh, they're still there.
off?
Okay.
Maybe we can take, we got 5 minutes. Maybe we can take a
Yeah.
quick vote on something here.
Lori, has
Go ahead, Clay.
before, you guys can get back in after you get back out?
This-
Just
Well,
as a,
it
sitting on the sidelines here, it
did
looks like
just
to
logging right
me,
back in.
the consensus
I
that everybody
think that was
is agreeing
Zoom.
on
If everybody can just, when
is
it times out,
that
time back in.
you're
Yeah.
needing
I
more
think
professional
that might be the
guidance
easiest thing to do.
on what your priorities
will
and
work.
what your biggest return on investment, especially in the timely manner is. I think it might be best to focus on that, because if we do, then you open up options on, do we need a consultant? Do we need, is there somebody within Public Works that has seen the startup before? And here's 3 courses of actions to speed up productivity.
Certainly, that sounds great. We have lots of worthwhile organizations that would all benefit from a piece of the 100,000. We know that. But we are using up all of our time trying to decide the merits of all the list. And I truly believe that we should have a position that is dedicated to this so that they're doing this on a daily basis as a job for the benefit of all Wichitans. And instead of us trying to sort this out 90 minutes at a time, once a month with a hybrid meeting. And so I come back to my motion that we consider using the allocation to fund a position and then go forward from there.
Second.
Part of the problem is having you all spring this on us now, when we haven't talked about this at all. That's why we're going around and around and around. I don't know. This would be ideal to have a sustainability coordinator.
Absolutely.
That would be the best thing for the city to do,
Absolutely.
like they do all across the country.
And that would
Pay
improve the
attention to
score.
the details of what his motion was. It was to pursue finding out where and how. I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
saying it
exactly.
exactly
I mean-
should, but it wasn't to hire somebody. It was to follow up on seeing if we could, and if so, how. Am I understanding your motion correctly?
So are
Someone
you saying to bring it
wrote
to
down.
to the manager, or?
Yes,
Is that
to
what
bring
you're
it to the
asking?
manager to move forward and to work it out as much as possible. I mean, I think we should do this, but we have to have a majority.
Did somebody write down the motion more clearly? 'Cause
Well, I did write down
least
fund
agree that we-
position.
Okay.
So we should definitely move forward. and
Yeah, and I
move
believe it's
forward.
fund the position, not explore it so much. I mean, I really believe that we should move forward with this.
I agree. I think that we all agree here, but especially, I'm not sure everyone.
Can you-
She thinks
virtually-
Lauren's option is best.
I think Lauren's option is best, which
Lauren's
is,
option was a contractor, a consultant.
Yes,
believe.
I believe so. I think she's the one.
well, that's
but
why we
yeah,
have a
the
democracy.
contractor, a consultant for the grant writing.
For the grant writing.
Which is only one bullet point of about 30, so.
You know, I want to point out, as just a member of the
We're about ready,
audience,
okay, go ahead.
this is part of the environmental finance plan. It's on page 46. It's a big recommendation that's already in print. Finding a full-time sustainability person as opposed to a contractor that's not really part of the city, that can't burrow in and network and communicate as thoroughly as an employee can. A contractor is a different animal than an employee.
I agree, frankly. I mean, I think focusing simply on grant writing should be part of what the sustainability officer would do anyway. And their portfolio will encompass many more things. And I believe that we would all benefit from having a person who is there on a daily basis and who is our champion for these issues in discussions within the city manager's office.
Renee, could you read that comment aloud? Because I think
Yes.
Lauren's saying something different.
With a grant writer, we can find the money to fund an FTE and show that our city can benefit from a sustainability officer.
It's already been shown. We have it in the report.
I think Jane has a very good point. One of the goals to me is to prove to the city that we.
Welcome back on the new Zoom link. We're back to quorum and continuing this serious discussion on the first item about using our budget to fund a position of the sustainability officer position so that we could have someone that would be looking after these things on a daily basis. And then we can come to these meetings and do subcommittee reports and many other things rather than trying to sort out the merits of budget allocations, among other things.
Can I ask,
Please.
in the discussion we had when we had no quorum, which of course had nothing to do with sustainability officers, one of the thoughts that came up is this $100 came out of the pot of city money. And if we go back to the city manager and say, well, we want to use it to hire a position, is he liable to say, well, if you don't know what to do with it, I do, and just like take it back? Is that going to happen?
I don't think he'll take it back. I can't imagine that he would. I think that when Michael spoke, he confirmed, that it is somewhat unusual for a board to be allocated a budget. But I think that everything that he's conveyed to me is that he stands behind it. So I don't see it being.
That's great to hear.
Being pulled back. I don't see that, but I do see an expectation that it's spent this year. But if you guys aren't able to spend it and you say, hey, can we roll it to next year? That's also an option. I mean, projects do get rolled. That's the thing that happens. We just need to say, here's why we're rolling it and here's what we plan to do in 24.
Let's
You
see.
got some comments?
If it was
Laura said-
allocated in 2023 though, would that like count, or would we have to do both? Allocate it to a new position in 23 and then roll half of it over to next year?
Right, if you got a position that started October 1st, you funded 1/4 out of the $100,000 you asked to roll the remaining 75% to 2024.
Okay, so that would work.
Laura asked, so why don't we talk with city council members individually to see if they would support hiring a sustainability officer via the funds in 2023 and maybe reissue the same budget in 2024. This person would also be tasked to look for and write grants.
That's part of the job description for sure.
You mean, introduce another delay? You mean, after this today, we would delay the whole thing for another month? Is that what I'm hearing?
Lauren said, I like the idea of rolling it to 2024. That way the FTE could have a full 12 months of work.
That's not rolling the decision to 2024. It's rolling the balance of the budget of whatever doesn't get spent this year over to 2024.
You know, our climate is changing. We don't have the leisure of waiting this year and then next year, and then maybe next year. Plenty of other cities already perceive the urgency, the necessity of providing for our grandchildren and our planet.
And if I can jump in on that, we're in the 98th percentile on air toxin carcinogens, according to the EPA here in Wichita. We are in the 97th percentile on air toxic respiratory index, which would be your kids getting asthma. We are in the 98th percentile for those are. And these issues are predominantly worse in communities that don't look like this room. So a decision that's being made to push it back is adding to that number the EPA says for my neighborhood, which is 1 out of 4 of us will die early. I would please ask from the bottom of my heart, as someone that's on the most toxic Air Force base this nation operates and grew up playing in super fun sites behind officers' housing on other Air Force bases here in the United States, to please not delay this for their sake.
I agree with both of you. I don't think that's what was being said, though.
No.
We were not talking about delaying the decision or the hiring. We were just talking about rolling over. If we can only spend half of the $100,000 this year, we have to be able to roll over the other half to next year to keep funding
And
the
I'm
office
hearing
that we're
that's
talking about.
appropriate.
Right.
That's not a,
That's what we're
that's not a
talking about.
controversy.
So that's.
Right, that's what we were talking about. That's what we were
But that's
talking
what
about.
we were-
It's okay. That
Okay.
part's okay.
Okay,
So can we go ahead and make a motion to go ahead and fund a position, and then whatever is not used towards that position in 23 to roll that over into 24? Is that what we're agreeing on? Or maybe we should re-examine that, because whatever's not used for the position, we have lots of worthwhile projects that would like some of that. I mean, there's,
Lauren made a
we
comment.
have some comments.
Okay, go ahead.
So Lauren said she likes the idea. I agree with Laura to see the likelihood of getting funds in 2024. Lucia said, I don't think it looks good to have the funds available and are not able to spend it as needed, and instead look to hire someone else and then hope that they give us the same funds next year. I'm not sure this is what they had in mind when the funds became available. Laura said the grants that the sustainability officer looks at could find their position and could fund their position, and money to help programs that could potentially save the city funds as well.
Absolutely, it would.
I'm sure it would save the position. I mean,
I don't think we're talking about asking for additional funding next year. We're talking about rolling over some funding from this year to next year, which is not quite the same thing. And I think we need to, if we're expecting somebody to take on this job, I don't think we can expect anybody to be willing to take it on unless they have at least a full year contract.
at least, yeah.
So.
Oh, it'll take longer than that. They'll need
Yeah,
more than
but
that.
at least a year. And so I think we have to be able to pony up enough money to fund a position for at least 1 year, even to hope to get anybody
I agree.
good to do the job.
Laura said she understands, but she's suggesting that they ask for 2024 funds.
I agree, we should ask for 2024 funds. I mean, there's apparently, it's not budgeted and it should be there. So if we start the process to fund a position, I think we're more likely to get them to go along with budget funding to support what's already there.
Laura also said we need to socialize the issue with city council to get their support.
Maybe, I mean,
That's what Michael did last Tuesday.
we certainly got their attention
Sure did.
when we spoke on Tuesday. Yeah, so I think we do have a number of the members that would be supportive of this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you need to make a public comment,
Yeah,
so.
she said, no, he made a public comment. We need to have individual conversations.
well, that's true too. And So Laura, what are you suggesting then about the, whether or not we should fund a position or not? You being the chair. I mean, I'm just standing in here because you're not here.
Writing.
Is there no sound? Is that?
We're not.
Right,
able-
so you guys can't hear us, is that correct, or can you hear us now?
Unfortunately, if you're speaking, we can't hear anything.
Why is that? Is that?
Did
There's a
you check the
whole-
audio or
I
what
already
was
think
the
it's
speaker for the audio?
This
There was
is the
a
way
whole
every
issue
meeting
with-
is.
You know, I want to point out again, because I was at that city council meeting, it was not 5 minutes of a public comment. It was a lot of back and forth. It was like 15 minutes of city council people, various city council people, and the mayor asking questions. There was connectivity with those decision makers. They listened up. They asked questions. They know too that Wichita does not do rate well with the ACEEE, the American Council on
99th out of 100.
99
Largest US
out of
cities.
100.
I don't
So-
think it was.
And we're 49th out of the 50 states.
With that, the budget that you're talking about, what's 800 billion?
That's total funding.
Okay, so assuming that if we fund the position for just this year, I mean, wouldn't you agree that the chances of us not being able to, land another grant to fund to continue funding the
As long
position?
as they're well networked, the expectation is beyond reasonable. It is minimal. In 3 months at an organization that currently has less than a $600,000 budget, pays me nowhere near what you're talking about. I've already pulled in, well, I've had opportunities to pull in and attempted, but then in hindsight, there's reasons why our organization can't do that, but over $700,000. And that's just from funds out of IRA going to nonprofit community resources.
So
There's no reason to not fund itself long-term, but there's also no reason why the city, the people who are elected right now on city council, you have a good majority of people that support these kind of issues. You have a mayor that's supportive. To not ask for the budget now would be to wait until later when the IRA funds dry up and maybe there's a different political climate on your city council. And that's, I strongly agree with Laura when she says that we should ask for 2024. Well, y'all should ask for 2024.
Yeah. So I guess my thing is, what would it hurt for us to go ahead and fund the position now and get this ball rolling? And then we can, just, all that money is available. There's a slim chance that we would not get or be approved for the grants that are included in that enormous amount of money. So I mean, what would it hurt to just fund it and move forward with this, just to get, the ball rolling to them? But then again, I'm not sure.
the
Laura said, I think we should try to socialize with the city council if we can get their support. And they like the idea, which I think enough will, then we can move forward. Lucia said, or Laura said yes. Lucia said, it seems clear people are firm in their stance, and I don't think we are all going to all agree. I agree, city council needs to be more involved. It is not something the city is it not something the city should be involved in? Would this not be a position like Troy Hartman for parks? The city
No.
is the one that pays his salary.
Troy Helpman is
Troy
who they're
Helpman.
talking about.
Yeah.
No, he's got a different portfolio. Wichita is rated 99th because things have not been coordinated, things have not been prioritized. I believe we should start. That's why I did what I did and am trying to argue that point today. If we can take a vote, then we can decide whether we go forward or not. Is that not correct?
I would just say one more thing. I think the alternative is we spend $100,000 on 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 projects, which will be nice and would be good.
And then we're right
And then
back where we were.
we're right back where we started.
Agreed.
Whereas this, we at least have a good chance to cast some bread on the waters and really go for a future that is a seriously different future than the one we're looking at now.
Lucia said, can we just fund part of it until the grants are available and not use all the funds?
Can I make a suggestion?
As a former administrative assistant for two nonprofits, this is the sort of job you say, assistant, you go find out the community people that we need to make partnerships. Assistant, go talk to him and find out how this does. Assistant, put this together and bring it back to the board. So what you guys are talking circles around this and overthinking it, because what will the city say if you'll never know. But if you hire a person and you tell them that these are the goals they do immediately, you're going to be able to get those funds. That's all I can say.
Okay. So,
Okay. Are we ready to call? I'm looking at the clock. I'm sorry, I got
yeah,
it right in front of
likewise,
me.
likewise. I mean, I knew this was going to be a lively discussion. And so once again, I motion that we fund a position, start the process, and then look for more funding as we go forward, that we have that in place to start with.
I second that motion.
Second,
I think
And does that include, we're asking for 2024?
and to ask for 2024 money.
Okay, so did we table the motion that you made initially? This is a different motion.
Yes, well,
I don't
or
think it
I
was
have to
actual
second.
motion, though. I
It's,
think
I
you were
think it was a
recommending a motion,
restatement
weren't you?
Right.
of the motion. Can we call it that?
Yeah.
Either that or it's an alternative motion,
Okay,
but it's a restatement of the motion and I will second it again. So it's the same motion.
There you go.
We
okay.
had a discussion on the motion and now we have a call
All
for the
right,
vote
so
on the
all in
motion.
favor, say aye.
I
Aye.
Aye. Can you guys give us a vote, yes or no? Aye.
third it.
Okay. That's two more than we need, or one more than we need.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna call it. What was the count on the vote, just to make sure it's in the minutes? Did you get it?
I can't see all the comments.
Yeah,
I
I don't
can't
think
see
she could
it.
see it.
Yeah, it's too small.
One,
Laura,
two, three,
I,
four,
and
five,
Jen.
6, 7, 7 or 8, 7. Is Laura? No,
Laura-
that's Lauren.
Laura's
Lauren,
yes,
Lauren.
Jen's yes,
And
Lauren,
Jen,
Jen,
yes.
okay.
and they're the only
Oh, so
two.
that's, okay, so that's it.
And
The others,
Lucia said yes.
okay, Lucia said yes. Okay,
So 7,
so we
0,
got 7.
7, 0.
Okay, so then we
Tammy
start
didn't vote.
an important thing. And so can we quickly try to move on to the rest of these items?
We need to
You
call
have
for nays.
You need to call.
Okay, and those that disagree, please say no.
Abstentions?
Thanks for clarification, Jen. Okay. So moving on. Are we done with this?
We're pretty much done, period, aren't we?
Yeah, we've got it really quick. The next item on the agenda was the Delano Green Space vote, which has been overcome by events based on item 1. We have to find out what was happening with our first priority. Is that not correct?
Yeah, and I just want to support what Laura said about contacting or at least speaking individually with city council, because the opportunity cost is, waiting for that position to be funded and then later finding out that it's not. And then you're kind of starting all the way back over with, well, what projects are we going to fund? How are we going to use this? So whatever you can do to kind of run concurrent paths so you don't miss out on those opportunities, I think would be very wise.
So to meet with the city council members.
That was Laura's suggestion. I just.
Yeah,
wanted kind of
absolutely.
To tack on why that would be helpful, because you do have other projects under consideration and you would like to spend that money. So you should probably kind of keep your doors open. It's my only suggestion.
Absolutely. The item C, review sustainability parks proposal and make recommendation.
You have some
Which-
chat comments.
Yeah, right.
Discuss the other ones on the table as backups. And then Lauren said, how do we move forward now? If the position is funded, then we can't fund projects, correct?
Essentially, that would be true. But if we funded the projects and just gave away the money, we're back where we start when we don't have any budget at all. So it's counterproductive, really.
So
I think we need to, I'm sorry.
well, I was just gonna say, Penny sounded like she thought we should keep working on these projects.
Because hopefully the person, whoever it is, will be able to get funding to fund some of these projects.
Yeah, we
maybe
should
a step
keep-
or two down the road.
Yeah.
We should keep working on the projects and to get a priority system and get them ironed out better, for sure.
And in the meantime, if we have 10 more minutes, I think if we can discuss specifically what we're going to do to further what we just voted on, who's going to go talk to who and what are we going to say? And is somebody going to
Okay,
give us a list of bullet point, list of talking points, that kind of stuff?
I agree. Developing a game plan is definitely the,
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
words. Thank you.
Yeah.
Game plan.
I mean, I'm all for meeting with city council members one-on-one. Anyone else wants to go? I mean, I've made myself familiar to them through monthly visits from March to August in 21 and then again last week. So I'm very comfortable carrying that banner.
I actually had a council member reach out to me
Is that right?
after you spoke.
Is that right? Good.
Yeah.
Laura said she's happy to talk to some of them.
Absolutely. Laura's a great ambassador and
Oh, nice.
communicator.
Who is with the council member, Lori? Who is
The council member who reached out to me. I don't know if I should say,
Yeah,
but he was just asking me, what do you think? Is this a good idea? I said, of course it's a good idea. But I haven't gotten a response back. I was just kind of like, oh, okay. It's just not Mike against everybody else, is it?
that's good that they asked.
So I was really excited to hear that.
Yeah,
I mean, I could certainly reach out to the council.
great. And maybe we should encourage a writing campaign. I did that last Tuesday. I encouraged citizens to communicate to their city council member and the city manager on these issues. I don't know if they actually received any communications, but
You may not ever know.
right. But nonetheless, and we can continue doing that because I would also like to ask about.
Laura said let's have the initial conversations first. Jen said you'd be the best one to speak. I'm also on the ICR board and they don't want to hear from me, period.
Oh,
Okay.
dang.
Who's that?
And I'm sitting here
It's
being
Jen.
conspicuously silent because I am on MAPC and I'm, it's not really a conflict of interest, but it just makes me a little, I'm not quite sure how it would work if I went and started lobbying for anything with a city council person.
You know, one of the great things about recent developments in our community, we have 316 United, we've got regreening Wichita, and a lot of people feeling the need for this sort of thing. So I believe there's a growing grassroots concern on this issue, and we will be able to solicit people to write in and to, we've got a Facebook page. Hardly anyone's using this, but it's the Wichita Air Quality and Sustainability Facebook page, which is through the city. And we could use that as a tool. I'm not sure what the status is on this.
It's a group, I think, because I've been able to post on it before.
Right, and
So
I
I think it's a
posted
group.
last week about WSU Go Green agenda. And so we can continue that. We can continue with, I truly believe that the public inputs of 2021 were influential in the decision as to why we are sitting here today. And we can continue to speak out on these issues. And it's only good for all of us and future generations as well. This is something to be righteous about.
Lauren said, should we plan to speak with the council member who appointed us?
Why not? That'd be a good place to start.
Yeah.
Can we devise or put together some kind of
I was gonna,
information so that we can have
a
talking points?
bullet list of
something,
talking
yeah.
points.
I have
They all
actually,
say the same
We
thing.
can all
Yeah.
work on
and
that.
I have actually started a PowerPoint presentation, sort of an update of what we're doing, and we could
Okay.
work on that together and clean that up and use that as a tool as well. I mean, to make it a little bit more formal.
Yeah, do some round robin emails with each other to
Right.
make sure we all get a chance to
Is-
get
Are
it.
we able to do
Jen
that?
wants the link, but Jen, I'm not sure what link you need.
90 minutes.
Laura said, who can talk to which
Yeah.
council members? I'm the mayor's appointee. I can talk with others if you want me to come as well. Tammy said, when will this get presented to council?
I'm not sure how the process works.
Yeah, are we allowed to email each other outside of this meeting about talking points we want to
No.
present?
You really
No.
need to send it
Yeah,
through staff, right?
Through
So if
staff.
Michael
Okay.
has some things that
Right.
he'd like to send to either Renee or I, we could push them out. It's
okay,
important that you all not reply all to that, right? Because that starts entering coma because it's like a meeting because you're discussing.
Okay, that's what you were
Thank
telling
you
me
for
about.
Yeah.
that.
So,
Okay.
so anything, so if somebody wants to start making some bullet points of what you all want to talk about, and then send that to like Penny and I for
Right.
right now until the new employee gets here. And then we can send that out, because that's what the staff liaison does. The staff liaison can send that out to the board.
Right.
And then if somebody on the board wants to make changes or add to, you guys can make like a Word document or whatever and make the, different
A
points
Google
on
Doc
that.
maybe.
But it will still need to be sent to whoever makes the correction or an addition would need to send it to staff, and then we'll send it out to the board.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's kind of the way that will
Yeah,
work.
and we can get that to you and get it out to everybody so we're on the same sheet of music, so to speak.
Lucia needs to
Elizabeth,
go.
you have been wanting to comment something. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out that especially to counter the ideas you couldn't figure out how to spend the money.
Right.
thing, to point out that there are growing opportunities both in the city with the citizens that are willing to step up and nationally with the Inflation Reduction Act. And, the idea is to not keep coming up with things that the city can spend, general funds on, but let's grow that it's an opportunity to grow that, the funding source
Right.
broader than the city budget.
Lauren said, what are the next steps for receiving approval for the sustainability officer?
So then what is the next step?
So, you need to direct staff, do you want me to base information on
So there's a form.
what you had sent me, Michael, the job description? And you want it to be, where it's gonna be housed, I think you said city manager's office, things like that. You would need the details to propose to the manager, who would then take it to council.
Okay, so should I give you that in a one message tomorrow?
Yeah,
Okay,
let's look at that BCE too, right? Because I don't know necessarily that it has to be scored, right? Like, I think you simply say this is the recommendation of the EFC report.
right.
And then kind of fill in, the objective, the benefit, that kind of thing. And then we'll work on that and submit it to the manager. I'll try and add the typical things that staff are required to add to budget requests.
Can I make a meeting with you now? Like for tomorrow?
Sure.
Okay, what time?
I have office hours tomorrow, so usually I am open.
We're taking care of business today.
I like this. This is the way it's
Yeah.
supposed to work.
Mike will take you out to Artichoke after this if you want to go.
I'm glad the news is, okay, anytime after lunch and before 3, so like
Okay.
between 1 and 3, anytime?
1 o'clock, I'll be there. Okay, great, thank you. So we made an appointment tomorrow with Penny to go through the details and start fleshing out the paperwork. And that'll be a major time saver right there, I hope.
Does Laura want to?
Yeah, Laura said, meanwhile, let's reach out to the council persons who appointed us.
Sounds great. Sound like a plan. And I'd like to, since we've got a couple more minutes, any other issues that we should look at since we've made a major milestone decision here today, which feels wonderful?
Are we going to be out 4 minutes early?
I don't know, but I'd like to remind everybody that on Saturday, there's a tree fest and we got tree problems here in Wichita, among others. And we want to start working on that. And I'm happy to be working with Elizabeth on that.
And a zero waste picnic.
Um,
You
So
could
many
go
good-
from the picnic to the tree fest or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Next week.
Oh,
Penny.
sorry,
You
May
can,
6th.
you can float though.
Sequentially.
Right.
As long as you can portage the jams from my boat water. There's only two.
I'd like to just let everybody know, for those of you on the board who have not sworn in, just reach out to city clerk and please swear in. I'm working on the back end
there we go.
with everybody else who has not been reappointed yet. So I will handle that. You guys also have a new board member who was just appointed yesterday
Oh, yeah.
from SWAB, and his name is Scott Lindeback. So he will be getting notices from here on out.
And just so everybody knows, with the swearing in, it literally took me less than a minute. So
Yeah.
it is quick and simple.
Isn't Scott Lindeback's staff?
No, Scott is
No,
with the Sedgwick County.
Ryan,
He-
there's a lot of Lindebacks around.
Well,
Okay.
Scott used to work for the city, but he
Oh, yeah.
left and he's now with the
Oh.
public stormwater, Public Works at Sedgwick County.
Okay.
So SWAB appointed him to the board because that
Okay.
was a seat that was open. So
Okay.
he's now on the board.
Oh, he'd be good.
I was reappointed to this board by MAPC last time. I have another MAPC meeting tomorrow. Is it possible if I swing over to the city clerk and could get sworn in?
You can.
If I just like show up?
You
will
can
she-
try to go up there, and if they're there, I think they'll do it for you.
Okay.
My suggestion would be maybe to call them and say, hey, I'm over by the building, can I go in at X time? Because city clerk, I don't,
Yeah, I
they've
don't
got
know
all
either.
the boards and a bunch of
Yeah.
other daily duties, so you may just check with her.
Okay, I will do that.
So
Try and get it done
Renee,
tomorrow.
Homa rules, Michael and I are gonna sort out details tomorrow, but then the entire board needs to be made aware of those details.
Yes.
Before that goes to the city manager, is there any way for them to respond just to me with their agreement? Would that be okay, or?
Yeah, so
Okay.
they, as long as you're kind of the liaison, then yeah, they can respond just directly to you on whatever document or
Great.
whatever you guys come up with.
Okay.
Yeah, just don't reply all.
Also, are we working out the bullet points that we're taking to our council members, especially the ones that were?
Right, and I'll have that.
Yeah,
for
but we have
tomorrow.
to do it through staff.
Okay.
Right, Michael's
So-
gonna give me a draft
Yeah,
and then
okay.
I'll.
Yeah,
send
I'll give that
out.
to her and she'll send it out.
Cool.
No, no, you're good.
Yeah. Great.
And hopefully, next month, this meeting will, everything will be good.
We say that every month, don't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
You made it
promise
work. You did a
anything.
great job anyway. It's okay.
Anyway, thank you to everyone for coming today. Feels like we made an important step forward. And, we just got to keep getting more people involved. This is the right thing for all of us and for future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shall we, anybody else with final comments? No. All right.
Adjourn.
Are you
Meeting
guys-
adjourned.
One minute to spare.